My first official act, and this is really good for me, is to introduce you to your next DU president. He's got passion. He's got ideas. He's got that Midwest politeness. He's got that Midwest accent. Above all, he's got a desire to see DU continue to achieve milestones that we heard about this morning. Let's take a moment to learn more about Bob.
Bob has a true passion for conservation, which aligns right with our mission statement at Ducks Unlimited. He's got conservation in his DNA.
He'll be a tremendous president for Ducks Unlimited. He has conservation at heart and people on his mind.
I've known Bob now for at least 10, 11 years, 12 years. Bob loves the outdoors. He loves to hunt, he loves to fish, he loves it all. But he understands the importance of why we do what we do at DU.
I first met him early in his Ducks Unlimited career before he really got involved and saw immediately that Bob had great leadership potential. He related well with people.
As you see in so many instances, the cream always rises to the top, and that's Bob Spoerl. Bob's passion and dedication hit me very early on that he was a great potential leader for this organization.
Bob went to school at the University of Wisconsin-Stevens Point. Upon graduating, he couldn't find a job, and during the summer he had worked at Summerfest. He hauled a lot of beer at the festivals and got to know a lot of the men at the brewing companies in Milwaukee. He was then hired by Miller Brewing Company. He began at the lower level. He was hauling beer, he was making sales, he was building displays, and then worked his way up the ranks, became an area manager.
You know, anybody that comes out of the beer distributor business has great business experience. He brings that experience and that wealth of knowledge to this organization.
As he worked his way up through his business, he also worked his way up through Ducks Unlimited, and it was always from the bottom and worked his way up. Got involved every year. He never said no to any committee that someone ever asked him to be on.
Bob is very, 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 very funny. Very funny. Got a great sense of humor.
There are some funny adventures with Bob, but I can't talk about him on film.
I never dreamed that I'd hunt with somebody that actually kind of mimicked Elmer Fudd in a duck blind. I look at Bob at what he wears, and it's like, Bob, you're in Arkansas, you're not in northern Wisconsin. You don't have to wear the Elmer Fudd hat, but he does. And he does it well. And he makes up for any abuse I would give him about his apparel by shooting capabilities. He's a phenomenal shot.
His superpower lies with his wife, Kim. She's Wonder Woman. She's going to help him in this mission that he has with Ducks Unlimited.
Kim is incredible, strong, supportive. She's everything that you want a first lady to be.
When Bob was asked to become first vice president, president, chairman, Bob and I discussed it, and we felt at that time we needed to work as a team. We were going to try and connect with as many people as we could, just to meet all of the volunteers at all levels, because we feel that whether you're at a local level, at a small city banquet, a large state convention, or at the national level, that we all have our roles in this organization.
I think Bob has the ability to inspire young people. It's critically important. You know, I think we all have some concerns about who's going to carry the torch for Ducks Unlimited in the next 87 years. And I think getting this next generation for the next 20 and 30 years, the leadership of that generation is something Bob will do very well.
We're in very, very good shape with Bob as the leader of Ducks Unlimited. I can't wait to see after his 2-year term where we end up, but I know that he will give everything he has to make sure that this organization continues the success that we've established in the last 5 or 10 years.
Bob's actions inspire volunteers to get excited about what we do. Certainly inspires me when I hear Bob talk.
As you look at being a Ducks Unlimited leader, you have to have some vision for where we need to go. Certainly Adam has that kind of vision as the CEO. Chuck has had that kind of vision. Doug Showrock and Bob is great following in those shoes.
We're very fortunate in the duck world to have Bob come on board as our leader, and there's no question in our mind he will prove to be exceptional, far exceeding his predecessor on every front.
It's not an easy job, and there's a lot of heavy lifting that happens during this time. But I assure you, Bob Spoerl is ready, and we're excited about that.
Friends, it is now my pleasure to welcome to the stage, straight from, as they say up there, Wisconsin, your 47th DU President, Mr. Bob Spoerl.
Thank you, sir. Wow, this is it. This is it. I played that opening song, Touch Me by the Doors, for two reasons. A, I love the song, and B, how so many of you have touched me over the past 2 years while serving as vice president. From California to Maryland, from Bismarck to the Bayou, from the Canadian prairies to the Yucatan, staff and volunteers have shown me not only their dedication and passion for Ducks Unlimited, but why we do what we do to protect the wetlands. It's been an awesome 2 years learning and understanding the regional and continental importance as it relates to waterfall. I only hope I can touch you over the next 2 years as you have touched me, because we are stronger than dirt. I want to thank outgoing Chairman Schoenrock for his great leadership and counsel. Doug, you've left this organization better than you found it, like so many of your predecessors, and that's all we can ask for. Chuck, congratulations on your ascension to chairman. I look forward to working together with you and thankful for your leadership, and I will always have your back, because I hear you just may tip over. But before I give my remarks, I see something, I gotta take a sip. A beer guy never turns down a beer. Cheers, everyone. Actually, it's a special beer. My son's a brewmaster, and he produced that specially for me. No, not really, but he brought it all the way from Wisconsin. So thank you, Mitch. Awesome beer. I still don't know how they can make it so good and yet sell it so cheap. Unless, of course, you're buying it in this hotel. But there's such an irony in my life. My entire career was spent in the beer industry, whether it was working for a brewery or owning a beer distributorship. And what's the most important ingredient in beer? Water. Lots of clean, plentiful water. That's why the Europeans who settled in this country placed their breweries along the Great Lakes, the Mississippi, and at the base of the Rocky Mountains. My passion for volunteerism always centered around waterfall conservation. And what's the most important ingredient for waterfall? Again, water. Whether it's found in the coastal lowlands, the hardwood bottomlands, the marshes, flooded rice fields, they need water and lots of it. And what's the most important ingredient for Ducks Unlimited? That's simple. That's the volunteer. Good morning. My name's Bob Spoerl. I've been blessed to lead this organization as your president for the next 2 years, representing and leading over 30,000 volunteers. Born and raised in Wisconsin, been a volunteer for nearly 35 years. It's great to be on the stage with great support from my family and my friends. I want to give a shout out to my fellow volunteers and staff from Wisconsin. Where's the Wisconsin table? Over there. Awesome shirts you guys created. Thank you so much for that. As every volunteer knows, you cannot be successful without the support from your family. I would like to thank my wife, Kim, for her support and letting me serve the cause for so many years. She will certainly make a great First Lady. And my kids, it's great that they are here as well, as they really do need to be here because they need to understand where their inheritance will be going. Thanks, kids. The Ducks could not do it without your financial support. You think I'm kidding, right? Yeah. You can laugh, that's good. Laughter heals all. It's a privilege being the third DU president from Wisconsin. Charles Gross, holding the office in the early 50s, and Gene Henry in the mid-90s, and both have storied past. You're looking at a great picture here with President Gross. He's the dude in the top hat in the middle. And that's at a Madison banquet in 1952, which also happened to be Gene Henry's chapter 13 years later. Wisconsin has a lot of history for Ducks Unlimited. In fact, the event system as we know it today, where you get a membership included with your dinner, all started in Madison in '65. And Toby Sherry, the state chairman of the time, is credited by several sources as having that first membership event. Dale Weitzel, DU's executive vice president at the time, noticed the huge membership gains throughout the Badger State and liked the results so much, he took it nationally. Membership responded immediately, growing from 30,000 in 1965 to 580,000 in 1985, with over 3,700 committees. During that same time, dinner revenue grew from 155,000 to 31 million in 1985. And who was responsible? And was responsible for 57% of DU's annual take. Why? Because a volunteer had an idea. The idea was born out of passion of filling the skies with waterfowl. Like so many volunteers that have served this organization for over 30 years, you probably got your start by serving on a committee. At least that was the way it was for me. I started my volunteer role in the late 80s as a committee member and then moved up the event ladder to become area chairman and continued to serve on various committees until I found myself standing in front of you today. But today, that's not necessarily the pathway of our volunteer. While event volunteers still make up a large percentage of volunteers, we have different pathways for non-event volunteers to get involved. We have policy advocates and the ever-growing base of varsity and university volunteers. In a more developed volunteer, we have the seasoned business volunteers holding corporate events or evening of conservation events. And that is why my number one goal is to make sure the volunteers will always be the secret sauce, the magic of Ducks Unlimited. To that end, I've developed a new advisory committee called the Volunteer Engagement, led by Senior Vice President Connie Parker. Connie brings great business experience along with business development, which is key to this huge undertaking. Interesting fact about Connie that I just recently learned about, that she worked for the Ringling Brothers, you know, the circus parade. And while I'm sure she wasn't the one following the elephants, I'm sure she dealt with her own shovels of opportunities during her stint there. And there will be lots of opportunities as she shapes this committee that specifically deals with the volunteer. Things like best practices, public speaking, state chair and board training, stewardship, tracking, educating, orientation, just to name a few. In short, developing an experience within the volunteer network that is inviting, engaging, and rewarding along with the respectful. It is a huge undertaking, and it's not going to be developed overnight. It will always be evolving, just as our volunteers evolve. But that is what DU does best, evolve without straying from our mission. Stay tuned. My second goal involves branding and marketing. For as long as I can remember, our customers have always been centered around the hook and bullet crowd, and that's great. We will never, ever leave them. But as we evolve, more customers outside the hunting community are coming because of our mission to conserve and restore wetlands and associated habitats. But we're just scratching the surface. As we continue to see corporations or foundations To be their sustainability partner, sometimes it's a struggle for them to think that we're nothing more than an organization that loves to hunt. And we are, but we're so much more than that. First and foremost, we are a wetland conservation organization. But before messaging to a conservation audience outside the outdoor industry, we first need to discover perceptions versus realities. So we will be conducting an in-depth brand research study. Then based on results, we can develop strategies to increase awareness of the DU brand across diverse communities, from simple brand awareness to generating relationships, stronger engagement, and financial support. I would like to see more marketing using our partners, enhancing that relationship. When we take the brand down the road, such as DUX and other sports shows, we need to ensure that the message of conservation follows. We must keep telling our message at every opportunity we can, making sure signage is at all DU projects. Volunteers are willing to invest, but also like letting the users know it's because of Ducks Unlimited that they are using that resource. Leading the marketing and communications team is Matt Dubnik from Georgia. Public policy support accounts for 50% of DU's revenue and will exceed that next year. Remember I was talking about the year 1985 when the event revenue accounted for 57% of their revenue? Well, policy revenue is the new kid on the block, and it's not going away soon. There's a drunken amount of funding available from state and federal agencies to address habitat biodiversity, water management, flood retention, soil health, and other DU delivery priorities. It's insane to think about the dollars available, but we are blessed with an amazing conservation team to keep delivering when we get our fair share. So we must keep our policy leadership strong, whether it's staffing or continuing development of our state policy volunteer teams. And it's just not about funding available. It's also about the threats our business that we must keep a watchful eye on. I want to thank our past leaders, Al Matna, George Dunklin, that have led the policy team recently and put us in a great place. Mike Machane will take over as my Senior Vice President of Public Policy, and I'm confident that Mike will continue the great accomplishments. I touched on sustainability briefly in my remarks and its importance of generating another revenue stream for DU. I want to recognize a previous Senior Vice President of Sustainability, Doug Fry, for creating the foundation of this committee and putting us in excellent shape to move forward. Teresa Keating, whose career is in sustainability, will be my new Senior Vice President of Sustainability, and I'm sure she will take it yet to another level for Ducks Unlimited. Thank you to all my Senior Vice Presidents for agreeing to serve. It's a huge commitment, and I'm deeply grateful for you. There's not enough time to go through all the committees, but know they are every bit as important as the ones I just covered. Nearly 90 years ago, our founding fathers and Spoerl had a vision to have sufficient wetlands to fill the skies with waterfowl today, tomorrow, and forever. 90 years later, that vision still holds true. Little could they imagine the impact that the future leaders would have on the landscape. Little could they imagine how the new leadership would evolve 90 years later. We are truly blessed to have over 30,000 dedicated volunteers supported by over 700 dedicated employees. I stand before you to give my honor and commitment to serve you as your president to the best of my ability, to maintain that vision of our founding fathers in keeping sufficient wetlands to fill the skies of waterfowl. Volunteers, we need you more than ever, not only for your talent, but your treasure as well. If you've not done so already, please consider a financial gift to this historic Continental campaign. For a new day is dawning. You, my friends, are the backbone of this organization. You, my friends, are Ducks Unlimited. I thank you. Thank you. I assume that's for the beer. Thank you for that. Before I leave the stage, I have one more video to share. It's a dedication, if you will, and speaks of how this organization keeps evolving. There are no hunting scenes, just highlighting the great conservation work done by staff, volunteers, philanthropists, with one catch. They're pretty much all female. Because you see, there ain't no mountain high enough that will keep the ladies of DU from doing what they do for Mama Duck. Let's watch.
No matter where you are, no matter how far, just call my name. I'll be there in a hurry. On that you can depend and never worry. No wind, no wind, no rain, no rain. Oh, winter's cold can't stop me, babe. Oh, babe, baby, baby. If you're my goal. Oh, no wind, no wind, no rain, no rain. Can't stop me, babe. If you're my goal. I know you must follow the sun wherever it leads. But remember, if you should fall short of your desires, remember life holds for you one guarantee. You'll always have me. And if you should miss my loving one of these old days, if you should ever miss the arms that used to hold you so close, or the lips that used to touch yours so tenderly, just remember what I told you the day I set you free.
Come on, ladies, stand up. Thank you, ladies. right. You bet. Oh, look at this. These rookies that don't know how to open a beer, but we'll make more. Look at this.
Bob, we had a little help from our friends. We got to lean into the beer culture. Everybody knows where your roots are. We'd have been here earlier. We're a little frazzled, but we let McGaffin drive, and it was tough. So. Help some friends. You know who they are: George, Peter Coors, Pete McGaffin, and some other Wisconsin folks. So on behalf of Chad Novice, State of Wisconsin, Region 3, man, we're proud of you. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you all. Cheers.